There are stories people tell to remind themselves that life can change suddenly, without warning. Then there are stories no one wants to tell, because they hurt too much to revisit. This one belongs to the second kind. The kind that makes you pause, halfway through hearing it, because it feels too familiar, too possible. It's the kind of heartbreak anyone could stumble into without ever seeing it coming. Our story begins in a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon, where a widowed father named Daniel Harper lived with his daughter, Emily. She was 17, with a constellation of freckles on her cheeks and a laugh that could soften even the hardest day. Daniel was a long-haul truck driver, often away for days at a time, but he called Emily every single night, without fail, at exactly 8:32 p.m. Not 8:30. Not 8:35. Always 8:32. That was the exact time Emily was born. The moment he first held her in the hospital. Despite losing his wife during childbirth, he vowed to raise his daughter the best way he knew how. Their calls were never long or dramatic. Not like what you'd see in a movie. They were simple updates, little moments threaded together with love. "You doing okay, Em?" he'd ask. "Yeah, Dad. You eating real food?" She'd joke back. He'd laugh because she was right, he ate. Junk on the road. He'd tell her about the weather in whatever state he was crossing. She'd tell him about her art projects. Then they'd say, "Good night." It wasn't much, but for 17 years, it was their ritual. And rituals have a way of becoming invisible until they break. On a freezing Wednesday night in early January, Emily waited for the 8:32 call. Her phone was plugged in, volume up, battery at 92%. She waited because she had something important to tell him, something she was scared to share. She'd gotten into an art program at a college across the country, in Boston. She had cried when she read the email, but hadn't told a soul. She wanted her dad to be the first to know. 8:32 came tonight. Pa said, then 8:33, then 8:40. She stared at her phone like it had betrayed her. At 9 o'clock, she called him. For the first time in her life, it went straight to voicemail. "Hey, Dad," she said, forcing a smile through the confusion. "Call me." Okay. The next morning, she woke up to no missed call, no text, no sign he'd even tried. The worries she'd pushed away the night before came rushing back. She called his supervisor at the trucking company, a man named Randy with a smoker's cough and a soft spot for Emily. At first, he told her not to worry. Drivers hit dead zones all the time. But Emily pushed, a voice cracking in that way only a terrified daughters can. Randy promised to check the GPS logs. He called her back an hour later, his voice heavy. His truck hasn't moved since last night. The signal was last recorded on a remote highway in northern Nevada. Miles from any town, Emily skipped school, got a ride to the bus station, and began the 14-hour journey. Every possible scenario spun in her head. Maybe the truck broke down. Maybe his phone died. Maybe he was just sleeping. Maybe. Each possibility felt thinner than the last. When she finally reached that long stretch of highway outside Winmuka, where the vast desert met the pale winter sky, she saw it. Her father's truck, parked on the side of the road, its hazard lights still blinking in a slow, lonely rhythm. She sprinted toward it, yanking the door open, already imagining him half asleep, saying, "Em, what are you doing here?" But the truck was empty. The driver's seat was pushed back. A coffee cup sat in the holder, still half full and lukewarm. His duffel bag was unzipped on the passenger seat. His wallet and keys were still inside. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was broken. It was as if he had stepped outside for a moment and never returned. Emily's throat tightened so violently she couldn't breathe. A highway patrol officer arrived within the hour, followed by Randy, who had driven through the night. They searched the area, calling Daniel's name into the desert wind, but there was no trace of him. No footprints in the sand, no dropped phone. No sign of a struggle, nothing. The official search began before dusk. Helicopters scanned the landscape with thermal cameras. Drones buzzed overhead, but by sunrise, they had found exactly what Emily had found. A running truck, a warm coffee, and the terrifying silence of an unanswered phone. The story hit the news. Truck driver missing in Nevada desert. Emily watched reporters say his name from the edge of a cheap motel bed, her hands trembling. She replayed his last voicemail from 2 days before, just to hear his voice again. "Hey Em, I'll be home Friday. We'll get pizza. Love you, sweetheart." She played it again. And again. After 48 hours, the case grew stranger. A gas station 2 miles down the road had security footage of Daniel buying coffee. He seemed tired but calm. Nothing unusual. He got into his truck and drove into the dark. But then, the strangest part surfaced. At exactly 8:32 p.m. the time he always called Emily, the gas station Eskimo caught him pulling his truck over. He stepped out and walked into the darkness without looking back. He didn't run. He didn't seem scared. He walked like he was meeting someone he recognized. But the footage showed no one else. After that, he simply vanished. Search teams expanded the perimeter. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Volunteers lined up to help, but nothing appeared, not a shoe print, not a scrap of clothing, not a single clue. On the 5th day, Emily collapsed in the sand near the truck, sobbing. Randy knelt beside her, his own tears falling. "He wouldn't leave you, Em," he whispered. "Not like this, not ever." Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The official search ended, as all searches do, but Emily didn't stop. She visited the site every week, then every 2 weeks, then once a month. She refused to let the world forget him. On the 1-year anniversary of his disappearance, Emily returned to that stretch of highway alone. She sat on the hood of a rental car, watching the desert turn gold under the dying sun. She held her phone, not expecting anything. But then, at exactly 8:32 p.m., her phone lit up. "Incoming call?" "Dad." Her heart seized. Her hand shook so violently the phone nearly fell. She answered with a sob. "Dad! Dad! Please, please say something." But the line was silent. Completely, impossibly silent. Then, before she could speak again, the call ended. The number went back to disconnected. There was no call history, no record, no trace. Just one impossible call from a missing man at the exact time he always called. Emily slid off the car and fell to her knees in the sand, crying in a way she hadn't cried since the first week. She wasn't crying because she believed he was alive or because she believed he was dead. She was crying because for the first time in a year, she didn't feel alone. Some people say grief is love with nowhere to go, but Emily believes love does go somewhere, even when the person doesn't. To this day, Daniel Harper has never been found. Not a body, not a clue, not a trace. But every year, on that same day, at exactly 8:32 p.m., Emily receives a call from that number. And every year, she answers with the same words. "I'm still here. Dad, I'll always be here." And even though the line stays silent, she believes that somewhere, somehow, he hears her. Thank you for listening. If you were moved by this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more.